Welcome to today's Explainer. Right now, we're diving into a really fascinating 8th grade curriculum that's all about teaching students how to become, well, the architects of their own learning journey. Because think about it, just like a magnificent building needs a crystal clear blueprint before a single brick is laid, this lesson argues that before you write a paper or dig into a massive project, you absolutely need a blueprint. Without it, you just end up with a messy pile of materials and, honestly, a lot of confusion. In the academic world, that essential blueprint is your research question.
Okay, let's dive into this. The lesson poses a really great question. Have you ever felt completely lost in a massive library without a map? Or, maybe you've just stared at a blank computer screen with this giant topic like the Civil War or climate change and thought, where in the world do I even begin? You type a broad topic into a search engine and bam, suddenly you're buried under millions of results. It's totally overwhelming, right? That feeling of wandering aimlessly through oceans of information is exactly what happens when we don't have a clear question guiding us. We can't just look for anything. We need to know exactly what we're trying to find.
And what's really interesting here is that seeking out exactly what we need is framed as a highly noble, almost spiritual pursuit. The curriculum grounds this whole idea in Proverbs 18:15, which states, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." So it's noting that seeking knowledge isn't just some boring academic requirement to pass a class. No, it's a profound pursuit of wisdom. Being discerning means being intentional. Instead of just passively waiting for information to be spoon-fed to you, the truly wise actively seek it out by asking the right questions.
So here is our roadmap for how the curriculum builds these skills today. We'll start with the map to knowledge, then choosing your own path, guiding a broad topic, building stronger questions, your turn to build, and finally, education, morality, and peace. Let's get right to it.
First up, Part 1, the map to knowledge, taking control of your learning.
The core message here is that great research always begins with great questions. Choosing the right question really is your blueprint. A strong question puts you in the driver's seat of your education. You're no longer just reacting to whatever a teacher tells you, you're the one driving the car. It acts as a map showing exactly where to look, what to find, and how to piece all those new ideas together. Plus, it proves your critical thinking skills to teachers, to your peers, and eventually to employers. It highlights your ability to communicate with real purpose, which absolutely sets a student apart as an intentional thinker who knows how to navigate information skillfully.
Moving right along to Section 2, choosing your own path, specifically student-selected questions.
The very first scenario students face is picking a topic based on personal curiosity. The text calls this a student-selected question. This is driven entirely by what you find interesting. And the key takeaway here is that doing this ensures the work remains engaging and deeply connected to the real world. If a student genuinely cares about the topic, the whole research journey transforms. It goes from being a boring chore into an exciting treasure hunt. The materials suggest you should always start by thinking about the things you actually care about.
Now, the source material brilliantly illustrates the difference between having a broad interest and having a solid blueprint. Let's say you pick a massive topic like nutrition. Well, that's just way too big to tackle effectively. But if you turn it into a highly specific target, like how do different breakfast foods affect student concentration during morning classes, boom, you've made it an actionable real-world investigation. Suddenly, the researcher knows exactly what they are looking for: breakfast foods, student concentration, and morning classes. It takes a vague interest and crafts it into a perfect blueprint.
Next is Section 3, guiding a broad topic. This deals with a teacher-assigned focus.
So what happens when you don't get to choose the topic yourself? The curriculum calls this guided question development. Basically, this is the process of taking a super broad teacher-provided topic and narrowing it way down into a specific, focused research question. When you're handed a giant topic like the civil rights movement, you really shouldn't try to write down everything that ever happened. You have to ask yourself, what specific part of this do I want to discover? That question right there is exactly how you find your specific focus.
Think about how a massive, global topic like renewable energy gets funneled down into something highly specific here. By asking which renewable energy source would be most effective for powering small towns in Texas, you instantly create a focused, manageable blueprint. Now the researcher knows exactly what they're doing. They are investigating solar, wind, or geothermal power, but specifically applied to the geography and unique needs of small towns in Texas. It takes this giant global concept and makes it entirely manageable.
All right, Section 4, Building Stronger Questions. Welcome to the Renovation Workshop.
In this phase, the curriculum looks at how we can remodel weak questions into strong ones, and the absolutely crucial point here is to avoid yes or no questions at all costs. Why? Well, because they make for terrible blueprints. Think about it. If a research question can be answered in a single word, just yes or no, your research journey is instantly killed. You found the answer, and there's literally nothing left to say. Instead, the material advises us to aim for open-ended questions. These demand an explanation, they require analysis, and they invite true exploration.
Compare a super simple question like, is recycling important? Which basically just ends with a yes and completely stalls the project, to a much more open-ended question like, how have city recycling programs changed in the last 10 years to reduce landfill waste? That second one forces a much deeper investigation. It makes the researcher look at history, analyze changes, and compare real data over a 10-year period. It just tells a richer, much more compelling story.
Which brings us to Section 5, your turn to build, putting the blueprint to work.
To actually put these theories to work, the lesson outlines a really practical 5-step homework assignment for the students. First, it asks them to write their own student-selected question on a topic they genuinely care about. Second, develop a guided question for the extremely broad topic of space exploration. Third, explain the limits of yes-no questions in their own words. Fourth, compare a weak and a strong question regarding social media. And finally, reflect on the value of personal interest in improving project quality. It's a really comprehensive way to test out these exact tools and practice those new architectural skills.
Finally, we have Section 6, Education, Morality, and Peace, the HeroesMart philosophy. Now, zooming out from the simple mechanics of an English assignment, the curriculum introduces the core philosophy of HeroesMart Academy, which is this: education without morality will hurt. The material argues that there's honestly little point in being highly educated or knowing how to craft the perfect research question if a person goes out into the world and makes choices that cause pain. It suggests that building intellect without a moral compass is kind of like building a massive, beautiful house on sinking sand. True education, it argues, has to intertwine biblical morality with academic learning.
The lesson builds on this using Romans 8:6-7, highlighting the promise that a mind governed by the Spirit leads to life and peace. The curriculum emphasizes here that true peace of mind, the kind that makes life rich and deeply meaningful, is achieved when intellectual growth is paired directly with spiritual mindedness. So, according to this integrated approach to learning, the ultimate goal isn't just for students to become brilliant, but also to become truly wise.
The lesson leaves students with a final, really provocative thought. As the architects of their own inquiry, they now have the tools to seek out knowledge efficiently and powerfully. But the big question is, how will they use that knowledge to make godly choices and actually build a better world? It is a powerful challenge, asking them to take full ownership of both their academic learning and their moral futures. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. We'll see you next time as we unpack more fascinating source material.